I'm going to cover a few of the questions in this one. Um, we had a question about what do I mean by a clean edit, and I'm just going to show you really quick. I've seen this all over the photography world, and the way I take it to mean is a clean edit is something that looks pretty true to real life without a lot of artistic coloring or texture or different things like that. So when I talk about the Florabella Classic Collection and I say that they're good for clean edits, it's just because they pretty much, I'll just run one and show you. They they enhance the photo and in my opinion bring it even closer to real life because the camera just can't capture how vibrant everything is in real life. But it just kind of makes, if you looked at the picture, you just think it looks like real life. It doesn't look different or weird. So here's just the classic rich action, and before and after, it's pretty much like real life. It doesn't look played around with a lot. It's just a clean edit, just enhances what's there but doesn't change it a lot. And so the opposite of a clean edit, I don't know what you call that, a dirty edit or something, I don't know. If you did different things like that and made it have different effects, then it wouldn't be a clean edit anymore. And that, what I just did there, I'll take that out so that I can explain it again. Another question that I had was about running an action on top of another action. She noticed that I did that in some of the pictures and that it just put it inside the action. And when she does that, sometimes it won't work, the action won't run, it messes up, and that is very true. What I just did, you just saw me add that blue ginger in, this Florabella Classic Collection, they have the basic actions like Classic Color, Classic Rich, etc. And then these are just add-ons and they're meant to be ran within the action, after the action, and I could run as many of them over this as I wanted to. One right on top of the other, and it's not going to mess anything up except my photo. You don't want to do that much to it. But anyway, so they're made for that. They're made to run right over the top like that. And some actions will do that. Other actions, I'll just show you an example. If I have this one open and I tried to run London on top of it, then what happens is it puts that whole action inside of the Classic Rich, and it's not really meant for that. It's okay, but what would happen is if I wanted to take the opacity of this one down, it would take the opacity of the London down too. I wouldn't be able to, I could take that one down more, but it's already taken down from being within the Classic Rich. So some actions will run within each other like that, okay, and they keep going. I can't think of one right now that won't work, but I know there are some that if you try to run them on top of each other that they won't work. So another thing that you can do that will work sometimes is, say I was running the 70s action. If I run boost right on top of it, then it will run separately, so those ones work. But some of them, you want to make sure that you click on the background layer first instead of being clicked on this layer. If you click on the background and then run it, then it won't get mixed up in there. I wish I could think which actions don't work so I could demonstrate it to you. But just to kind of, I just have to fix this, sorry. Just to go over a couple of the rules. Usually it's safe to flatten in between every action that you run. That's usually the best way to go, just so you don't run into weird action happenings. And if you do, if you mess it up, if your actions mix up or they don't run well or they ruin your photo, then we love the history tool, just start over again and it's no big deal. So flatten between actions generally. If you're using the Florabella Classic Collection, they're made to run inside the basic actions. So go ahead and do that. Don't worry about flattening in between. If you're running 2 other actions, then you might learn which ones work and which ones don't. If you want to try them, it's usually safer to click on the background layer before you run the next action, but some will work both ways. So I hope that answers your question. Let me hurry and pretend that I just finished this photo. I'm going to run an action, and then we had a question about what is considered high definition. And you'll hear that all the time. You get a CD of high definition photos, and basically it's just as big as the finished file can be. So if they wanted to print a 20 by 30 print, they wouldn't have an issue. If you're sizing your photos down, like to an 8 by 10, and they tried to print a 20 by 30, then it would look like crap. It would be horrible. So it's giving them the file that's big enough that if they could print any size off of it. And that comes first from shooting with a large file. If you shoot RAW, that's great, or large fine JPEG. Don't shoot your small files because that already takes size away from it to begin with. And then when you're saving your photo, we'll go ahead and save this photo. And then you want your quality to be, if you want it to be the highest possible, make sure you're on 12 maximum and save it. Now this is good for giving CDs to a client or prints. You want to sharpen it about the right amount so that if they did print it, that would look good. And if you are in doubt, you can always choose print size, and be able to choose the different print sizes that you'd want. Say I wanted to do a 20 by 30. This is going to be huge, I'm warning you, but we'll try it. Oops. You like my mistakes here? Okay. Okay, so I've sized it to 20 by 30. Oh, let me put, you want your resolution to 300 pixels per inch if you are printing. Okay, so this is what it would look like at 20 by 30. So you can zoom in like that and see, do I like how it looks? Does it look okay? So that was back to the print size. So you know you're pretty safe there. So that's one way to decide what your high definition would be. Let's take it back to here, and then saving it for. The question was raised about RAW versus JPEG. When she uploads them RAW, then they're a whole bunch bigger than when she saves them as the JPEGs. RAW files are just a lot bigger because they take each of the pieces of the photo and keep it in separate data stores. So it's just a bigger file because it's not compressed. You can't print off of a RAW file, so you have to save it to a JPEG, and it's smaller not because it won't print as big. It's just because everything is compressed into a mixed up file instead of all separate files. Hopefully that makes sense. So it's okay that the size goes smaller when you're saving it as a JPEG versus a RAW. It always happens. You're not doing anything wrong. Now, saving for the web, there's lots of different actions that people have made, and most of them are free. These different companies want you to get familiar with them, and so they give away free web actions. Florabella does have a resize and sharpen for the web that comes with the classic collection. My favorite is Paint the Moon Facebook resize and sharpen if I'm using it on Facebook. So that one, it just runs and it sharpens it too much usually, so I just pull the sharpening back a bit and then flatten and then save it. So there's my original there, And there's my Facebook. It's quite a bit more sharp, and as you can see, it's a smaller file, but they show up on Facebook the best. That's been my favorite. MCP has good ones for before and after, or two images side by side that you can use. Those work well too. The Paint the Moon is just the fastest, and it usually looks pretty good on Facebook. And I will tell you what I use for blogs. I use BlogStomp. And it is a program that you have to pay for. You can just Google BlogStomp and find it if you're interested. And what BlogStomp does is, I'll just show you really quick. You pull your files into the BlogStomp program, and then you just pull as many as you want into groupings, and it groups them like this and sizes them to fit on your blog. So you can put groups of pictures, and it does like a good sharpening on them for the blog page. So for blogs, I use BlogStomp. For Facebook, I use Paint the Moon, Facebook Resize and Sharpen. And like I said, there's lots of web sharpening and sizing actions out there. So go ahead and find a free one, or if you do find one you like, then I showed you how to record your own action, and you could make an action so it does the same every time. Let me know if I didn't answer your question, how you were asking it, any of those questions that I answered in this one. Let me know if there's any other questions that you have.